All right. So just giving an update, I started off work on the Hive integration tests, and as I communicated yesterday on the question, just to clarify, I do hear Vid and Will's views, and I mean, I understand Dan's where Dan is coming from, but in my opinion, I thought seeding the local mempool from a file would be a lot quicker than waiting for the RPC interface to be ready and then you submit a bunch of user ops to it. That's why I was wondering if probably a command line argument to seed the local mempool would be better. But I do understand that already exists a debug namespace, so adding a separate endpoint there is probably the way forward. So if everybody is of the consensus that that's the way we should proceed, I'll submit a PR to update the spec and add a new RPC endpoint to set the local mempool from a JSON array or whatever. That's the case. But I'd like to hear your views on this. Will and with Shahaf yourself as well.
Okay, so what exactly is the issue that you are trying to solve with having it read from a file versus using the
Okay.
debug apps? Because you said that there is a performance issue. Can you elaborate? What's
Uh, so
uh,
uh, the objective is when you write the simulator, you are required to. So one of the bundlers will act as the source, and a few others will act as the sink. So we should have an ability to seed the source bundler's local mempool with a bunch of user operations, and then evaluate whether the connected peers receive all of these user operations correctly.
yes.
Now, when I run the simulator, if we were to say, because each of these are microservices within the bundler, at least on Skanda and the same in the reference implementation, we would have to wait until the RPC interface is up and running, and then you have to push a bunch of user operation to the RPC interface, wait for that to be what do you say, added to the local mempool and then get propagated, which I believe there will be a latency for that to complete. Instead, when you boot up the node itself, if you were to directly read from a file, that will be and persist into the local mempool, that will be a lot quicker. That was the reason why I was wondering if we should add it as a command line argument used specifically for the Hive simulation rather than doing this via the debug interface. I hope my explanation was correct, clear there.
Yeah, your explanation is clear. I was just wondering what exactly is the effect. I mean, how much latency do you suffer
I,
when you, yeah.
I don't know because it depends on the number of user ops I mean, number of test suits, test cases within a test suite we are trying to simulate. One would hopefully we are just going to see the mempool only once. The others are just testing out individual request response based tests. But how big is the local mempool that we want to seed? That would have an effect. If we are saying going to seed it with 50 different records, then maybe there would be performance issues. But if it's just 10, maybe we can get away with just a debug RPC endpoint.
Is there, okay, yes. So is there a reason not to start with the RPC, with the debug RPC, and then if we actually see that we take a performance like a significant performance hit, then we can move to file-based system as you suggested? Because I don't think it's a bad idea. I actually think that it may be helpful. I'm just
Mhm.
wondering whether it's something that we have to deal with, or it's not going to be a big issue anyway. So that's why I was wondering whether we can just postpone implementing it to later.
Sure,
What do you think?
sounds good. But we would still need a change to the spec to add the new debug endpoint, because that's not
Of course.
a part. Yeah. So I'll
Yeah, of course.
then go ahead and submit a PR for that change. And yeah, all the bundlers have to implement that in order to be ready for the hype testing.
Okay, great.
Sounds good.
Yeah, great. Sounds very good.
Uh,
So yeah, that's. Does anyone else feedback on it? Is Dan here? Maybe from Alchemy, maybe they also.
yeah.
Maybe yeah.
I don't think Dan is joining. Yeah, he's not here today. Probably he's not part of this meeting. But I'll probably yeah, convey the same message in that thing and get his feedback as well.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Thanks. So Will and Wade, can you please give us an update on where you guys are with the P2P implementation?
Yes, I think we are ready to maybe do some tests together right now.
Oh,
Currently.
are you? Okay. So you do have an, I mean, if you are ready to let us know, I'll share the boot node address and we can start commencing testing. Rutger from Etherspot would be available to help you out. We can probably start doing the initial tests while I
Oh,
work
okay.
on the hype. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah.
Cool. I'll do that. Yash, do you have an idea when Bioeconomy would be ready with your implementation of the P2P interface?
Not in the next 2 months. Currently, like it's more on like we are focusing more on stability and performance of there. But I would say those conversations would start maybe a month out from today. So probably like November onwards, like we'll be kind of start contributing there. Yeah.
All right. So the concern that we raised initially was that we don't know yet when Godly is going to be decommissioned. So the idea was to have all teams be ready with the P2P implementation by probably the first week of October, and we complete the testing maybe by end of October or mid of November. If we can't, then probably we should move on to a different, the new Ethereum testnet as well. Do you have an idea when it's going to be decommissioned, Gorley?
No, I think I mean when we had a chat about it last time, I tried to ask around, and I got the impression that it's not going to be decommissioned before the end of the year, but there is no guarantee. But
Right.
But regardless, I was hoping that we'll be able to have integration tests so that we can do something. We can do something around DevConnect. There's going to be the event. There's going to be a 47 event in DevConnect, and it would be really nice if we can bring everyone together around the peer-to-peer protocol then.
Okay. I mean, I guess the current plan that we were working on was in accordance with that to be ready before DevConnect. But now that Cilius bundler is already ready on the P2P interface, I'd have to check with StackUp and Dan to see where they are. And we could then probably take a call. If at least 2 or 3 implementations are ready with the P2P interface, we can be confident with what is there out, and we should be ready before DevConnect.
Yeah, I think that would be great. Even if not everyone is ready at the same time, if we have two or three implementations that work well together, it seems enough to launch a mempool there.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, that is the status I had on the P2P implementation as of now. Yov or Shahaf, if you can give us more updates on the expected 7.0 implementation, that is entry point contract, and as well as the alt, the specification for the alt mempool, that is USDCO, the first alt mempool.
So Yoav, do you want to start?
No, I think you are definitely more up to date since I just returned from extensive traveling again. So I'm not up to
Okay,
date.
so yeah, okay, so regarding the upgrade of the endpoint, we are currently basically working out the list notes and everything, and we don't have a concrete date yet where we are going to publish a new the new contracts, but we expect, I believe that we expect to do it within like probably in a month or something around that time, because there are several changes that we want to push before, I believe, before DevConnect. But again, like, once we have list notes to share with everyone, and once we have tested it ourselves, then we can obviously get your feedback and help everyone migrate and everything. We don't have it finalized yet, though.
Okay, but unlike the previous upgrade, 0.6.0 would still continue to function, right? We are not enforcing an upgrade to the latest entry point.
Yeah, we are not forcing an upgrade, but we highly encourage it because there are several features and fixes over there that we think are going that are breaking compatibility to some extent between the versions. So just continuing to support both of them is obviously fine, but at the very least, we want bundlers to support the new one as well, and not only the old one. So, but yes,
Yeah.
continuing to support both is completely fine currently.
Okay, sounds good.
In fact,
Any
it's,
major
encourage. It's also where what we want to encourage all bundlers to do during upgrades, since there may always be even after most people upgraded, there may be some accounts that are largely dormant and remain on the old entry point. So unless it causes a problem for the bundler to also participate in a mempool with the old entry point, it makes sense to keep doing so.
Yeah, specifically, unless there is a critical bug fix, we don't intend to prevent bundlers in any way to support previous entry points. Again, unless there is a major bug.
Are there any major security concerns in this one 0.6.0 that you have fixed in 0.7.0, or it's mostly around features and few fixes?
So can you repeat the question?
So I'm asking, like, in 0.7.0, are there any major security issues that you have fixed, or is it mostly on features and minor fixes? Because I was seeing PRs, it was around like better event reverts and giving more information out, like in pre-opcast and all that stuff. So I'm aware of that, but are there any like major security changes that caused fixes?
So Yoav may correct me if I'm wrong, but as he said, I'm probably I'm more familiar with the details. So if I remember correctly, there was no critical security bug fix or something like that. There were major changes to the entry point in terms of feature-wise and the interface itself. So we did change several things. I believe that the nonce manager is one of them. For example, that the entry point is managing a two-dimensional nonce. I'm not sure. I think that it's not the case currently on the entry point, or maybe I'm confusing versions. But there were several features that were changed and several improvements. I don't think there was a security risk. Yoav, do you remember something else?
No, as far as I recall, no security fixes.
Got it. Yeah. Thanks.
Again, when we actually gather around all the changes to a release note, when we just compile a release note, then you'd see exactly what was changed, and again, if there were a security risk, then we wouldn't have let it happen just like we wouldn't have kept this entry point functional for a long time for the bundlers because it would have been an issue, right? Like we would have pushed the fix far earlier.
Right.
Yes. So, Shahab, this is in continuation to my comment in that PR, where I had asked if it made sense if we could probably add bundlers as a part of the P2P interface to query reputation information from the connected peers, just as an information. It's not as propagation. I understand there are risks associated with the decentralization, but just for informational purpose, is this something that we think? Do you think it's a good idea?
Did you have it as a?
Yeah,
I don't
it
remember.
was
I
me.
think I answered it.
Yeah, I
It
think
was you.
you said, yeah, you did.
Yeah,
I was.
so there is a big issue for us that we are very reluctant to make the reputation non-local. That is shared between bundlers, simply because a bundler is very trusted between its peers. So unless you have any mechanism, and that is another kind of worms to create such a mechanism to actually validate its reputation. Otherwise, if you're actually validating, why wouldn't you just have the reputation calculated yourself? But if you don't validate inside another bundler the first bundler's reputation that he provides, then it means that bundlers can simply censor a user or a paymaster or any entity in the network, just saying that its reputation is very low. Okay, so it's a big issue because currently bundlers can only censor by basically deny service by themselves. They cannot make another bundler deny service for a user.
Yeah,
and that's an issue. Do you see a way to overcome it, basically?
no, my thinking was not necessarily to reuse the reputation that you receive from a connected peer, but just receive it for informational purpose. How a bundler uses that information is up to the implementation. The scenario I'm looking at it is, I think in most cases, when you are setting up a hosted bundler, you would have several individual bundler nodes running under a load balancer, and you don't know exactly which underlying node is the one processing a given request. So assuming there is a paymaster attack, a stake paymaster attack, one of the nodes might have received it, but the processing might get routed to a node which did not evaluate the particular paymaster. So there is a chance that that bundler might end up losing money.
That's exactly, but this is exactly the issue that I'm talking about. How would you know that there was an attack if you weren't exposed to it as a bundler and you just only heard from it as a gossip from another bundler? Okay, you wouldn't know unless you verify it to an extent, and then if you could verify, then you could just implement a local reputation system by yourself and not need another bundler to tell you about it. But if you don't verify, then just another bundler could tell you, okay, this paymaster attacked me, and now I'm blocking it. Okay, so as you said, it really depends on what you do, what your implementation does with the reputation that it gets from another bundler. And I see two options here. Either you use it in order to block or throttle a user, and then you are not censorship resistant anymore, and it's another kind of worms that we need to solve. Or you don't use it, and if you don't use it, then what's the purpose of getting this information? Okay, so. Yeah. I don't see how this is an inherent trade-off that I don't think we can bypass. I don't see a way, but again, if we could theoretically find a way to do it, then it would, and that is also feasible to actually implement in a bundler, then it would be nice. But I'm trying to understand the issue that we are trying to solve, because as a bundler, if a bundler is exposed to an attack by a paymaster, first of all, most likely that the attack is a denial of service kind of attack, and there are several ways to solve it. First of all, is the the traditional ways to throttle an IP, and basically a user, or not only an IP, but basically a user that is trying to attack you. Okay, the more traditional ways. And the second ones are based on the reputation that the paymaster, that the bundler keeps for the paymaster. So if that is tight enough, okay, if the bundler is configured in such way that even if a paymaster tries to do it, it will very soon get throttled and then banned, then I don't think that sharing the information, sharing the reputation between bundlers is necessary. But we may be wrong, but I think that let's first actually encounter such issues and see if we need to mitigate them between, like, across bundlers and have different communication channels. Because until then, I don't want to open another can of worms to deal with, that is bundlers attacking each other with false reputations.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
So I think so. I mean, I'm not fully up to date on this discussion, but in general, the way the reputation system is designed is completely local. It's completely local because first of all, it's not meant to prevent griefing. Griefing is prevented by other means, because it wouldn't even be sufficient. If someone can cause you to lose money on let's say a revert of an entire bundle, then reputation is not good enough. You need to, so it's meant to prevent off-chain denial of service, like excessive simulations. And in this case, it makes sense for you to only consider user ops that you yourself had to simulate, and therefore it caused you to perform unpaid work. So it's calculated locally, and each bundler has its own view, because maybe some operations you simulated them, but someone else didn't. So you have a different view of the reputation. But having said that, if I understand correctly, the use case that you have in mind, it's the use case of a group of bundlers that trust each other because they are operated by the same entity and just using a load balancer. And in that case,
That's right.
In that case, it's actually
that's technically a local reputation. Then you don't need a protocol change.
So that's what I'm saying. That in this case, it's one bundler. It's one bundler that is implemented as a cluster, so it needs to share reputation inside the cluster. But this is not. But then it's not related to the protocol. It should never be propagated outside of this cluster. So you can have a communication inside this cluster of bundlers where they share reputation. That's fine, but it's not a part of the public protocol.
Yes,
okay,
and
that makes sense.
To emphasize the part, if you really need that, then that doesn't have the issues that we talked about before, because in that case, you are running, or you are trusting all of the bundlers completely, because either you are running them or someone who you trust basically runs them. So you know that when they provide you the reputation, you know how they calculate it. You don't need to verify it. Like if you run all the bundlers, then of course they can share reputation between them, because they are your bundlers. So having a side protocol for this bundle specifically, that is going to read from like a database that shares the reputations between them, that's completely fine. Okay, you're not really exposing yourself to an attack, because you're not going to attack yourself.
It's one bundler that just happens to be implemented on multiple machines.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks.
Yeah, but let's not add this to the peer-to-peer protocol for the public network.
Sure. That's on the upgrade. Any updates on the new alt mempool proposal?
You mean what?
USDC for Circle.
Yeah. So, so Dror is offline now. So and he's been working on it. So we should catch up with him.
Oh, okay.
So Dror is on vacation. He's not here today.
All right, that's fine. So yeah, we'll expect to hear from Dror during the next call. Yeah, I didn't have anything else on the agenda unless somebody else has any questions. Okay. Yeah, I guess then that's it then. Thanks, everyone. I'll submit a PR for the updated spec for the debug, and we'll take it from there. Thanks. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you, Father. Thanks, everyone.
Cheers.
Bye, everyone.
Speak to you later.
Bye.
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 Bye.